and welcome to the Sunderland vs Burnley match preview. So Sunderland are going to look to rectify their defeat against Blackburn midweek with a positive result against Burnley this weekend, but that is not going to be easy at all. Burnley, for me, I've said from the beginning of the season, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Come the end of the season, you know, Vincent Kompany's going to inherit an excellent job. I think their style of football has improved drastically since he's come in, or at least it shifted anyway. Of course, when Sean Dyche was there, they were kind of known for a particular brand. That isn't a dig on Sean Dyche, but that is just the kind of brand of football that they were known for. But now it's a little bit more easy on the eye. They're structured, they're attacking, and they can do the job. They're currently third in the league, only one defeat since the start of the season. So this isn't going to be a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. But for me, as it'll probably have in the title of this video, I think changes are needed drastically. I think some players are tiring a little bit, and I think the responsibility of, you know, not having a striker, which we're going to keep on mentioning, it's frustrating me, you know, because no one seems to bat an eyelid when we're winning games about the fact that we don't have a striker, but then when we lose, and I do it myself, I'm immediately saying, oh, we should have brought a striker, we should have done this, we should have done that. But at the end of the day, you know, you don't hear anyone saying a word about Speakman when we're winning these games, but then as soon as we're losing, it's Speakman should have done this, Speakman should have done that. And I am without no, you know, doubt that Speakman at least attempted to bring a striker in. You know, Broadhead, it didn't go to plan. I think there's been others, but they just didn't go to plan. It's not always Speakman's fault. You know, and I've said this before, like I say, I can't imagine they just sat on their arse and just thought, right, all we need is two strikers. I thoroughly believe they would have at least attempted to go for someone else, but I would rather them not go for anyone, rather than just getting a number in for the sake of it, or just bringing a body in for the sake of it. Because just because you have a striker on the pitch, don't mean they're any good, or they're a fit for the club. Do you know what I mean? So I get people's frustrations, but to fall back on that and then immediately, you know, point the finger at Speakman as soon as we pick up a loss, I think that's a little bit unfair. And at the end of the day, yeah, against Blackburn, I was frustrated with officials and stuff like that. But had those officials or those decisions didn't go against us, we would have picked up a good draw at Ewood Park. Do you know what I mean? And yes, Blackburn may have just about shaded it anyway in terms of chances and whether they deserve to win. But even so, you know, we're not miles out of games. We're still creating chances. Yeah, maybe not as many clear-cut ones as we would like because we don't have a striker on the pitch. But it's not like we've been absolutely garbage, do you know what I mean, without a striker. So there still is an opportunity there. But for this game, you know, it's Burnley, good side now, as I say. You know, you've got Rodriguez up top, who's been there, done that. He's still bagging goals. They usually play 4-2-3-1, don't they? With Brownhill in behind Rodriguez. And I'm a big fan of Brownhill. I have been for a couple of years now. I think he's a very, very good player. Creative, he can strike from distance. You've got Cork in the middle of that midfield as well, another player who I really like. Harwood Bellis in that back four, who they've brought in from Manchester City. A very, very good class act, a young lad at the back. They've got, you know, sprinkling of qualities across the entire team. And, you know, I think had we not had such a strong start to the season, you know, I think people's expectations to an extent would have been lowered. But because we had such a strong start and we are competing in every game, which isn't a bad thing, people are expecting this sort of immediate title push, which I don't want that. I don't want it as such, but I don't expect that at all. Those aren't my expectations. Do you know what I mean? Like I said at the beginning of the season, I'd take mid-table, happily take mid-table, because some people do need to remember, and you know I do go off on tangents, I do go off on rants, but some people do need to remember we were in League One for 4 years. 4 years, yeah, granted you can say, yeah, we're a massive club, but now we're back in the Championship and we should be, you know, throwing everything at it. We need to be realistic with it. We've assembled a very young squad who just happen to be competing very, very well in every single game. Yeah, but we need to expect we are going to pick up defeats and draws, and we're not going to win every single game. You know, like in League One, almost every game I was going in thinking, you know, we're favourites, we should be coming away with this. But in the Championship, I'm not. So sometimes I'm not actually as hurt when we lose, particularly in the manner that we're losing, or when we do pick up defeat. They haven't been absolutely terrible. Some frustrating, like with Blackburn. But I think sometimes we do need to inject a little bit of realism and try and be a little bit more realistic with certain things. And I don't want us to just lose the plot and turn on the team just because we lost a game. Do you know what I mean? You know, 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 defeats. It isn't a garbage, or it isn't a really bad start to the season. I keep using the term garbage, it's annoying me. But yeah, so for this game, I would genuinely do several changes just because I think some players are tired. Like I say, the responsibility of having no strikers, maybe getting to certain players who I think they've just kind of found themselves almost a solidified spot just because we have played well in certain games. I feel like Tony Mowbray does need to change it up because there's certain players that arguably don't deserve to retain their place in there. But I will get into that with my preferred starting 11, and here it is. So as you can see, I've done the sort of 3 at the back system. It could be shifted to a 4, but I've gone with Pato in goal, Sirkin, Danny Barton, O'Nien. I've put as the back 3 just in case Alessi isn't going to be fit. It isn't looking like that as of right now, but I could be wrong. You know, if we were to go to a 4 at the back, we could get Trey Hume, who I have included there, and push him back with O'Nien and Danny Barton in the middle and get that 4 going there. But I have just done the 3 for the time being. Trey Hume, I would start. I don't think, again, like in pre-season, I know it is only pre-season, but he didn't put a foot wrong. He's probably the shining light of pre-season. And he was very, very good. He looked really good and really sharp, and he come on the other night. And I don't think it'd be a bad time for him to come in. Yes, Burnley are a very, very good side, but it'd be a test for him. And I believe when I have seen him, I just think his attitude is fantastic. Nothing seems to fear the lad. So I don't think it will be as bad as people may think, throwing him in almost the deep end against a team like Burnley. So I'll put Trey Hume there, particularly if Gooch as well isn't fit. Now in the middle, I have dropped Dan Neil just because, like I say, there's a portion of his game which are excellent, but in recent games he has been poor. His end product, his passing and his distribution, it really has been poor. Evans, you know, he does, particularly against a team like Burnley, I think we do need that calm head in there and that sort of captain's influence. So Evans, and I've put Abdullah Bar in there to replace Dan Neil because he has really impressed me when he gets the ball. Again, it's another fearless lad. If it doesn't go right for him, it doesn't go right for him, you know, and we can always chop and change it. But for every time we have seen him, generally, I think there's been 1 or 2 where he just came on and was a little bit wasteful, but generally it's another fearless young lad, not scared to, you know, get his head down and run at players, and his distribution has generally been alright. But I think, you know, getting started at the stage of my life, give him that opportunity, because now you've got all these exciting young players on the bench that if you're not using them, they're going to think, you know, well, what's the point? Because if players who are in the starting 11 aren't doing the job of the pitch, these lads on the bench was thinking, what the hell am I doing here? You know, when players aren't playing well, generally, they should be chop and change. That's what I think should happen. So I will put Bart in the middle with Evans, with Jack Clark over on the left-hand side. I know Jack Clark has generally been our main goal threat, and he has gone down the centre recently. But just on the left-hand side, whilst Alessi isn't there, or Alessi should I say, and Sirkin drops back, I don't actually mind Clark on that left-hand side because he has improved drastically with his defensive duties. So I wouldn't mind seeing Jack Clark over on that left-hand side. Now up top, all these can interchange, but I think Burnett deserves a start. He's just rapid. Is again raw, another fearless young lad. He goes for goal at his first opportunity. You know, we haven't had a shot for frigging ages against Blackburn. Burnett comes on, drives down the left-hand side, and he's absolutely, it's a thunderbolt towards the near post, and the keeper managed to parry it away. But he's so direct and wants to go for goal. Get him on the pitch. I think he's fantastic, Burnett. Diallo, he's a very, very frustrating player for me, Diallo, because he gets himself into half-decent positions, he can take on his man, but then he just doesn't frigging shoot, do you know what I mean? And it's frustrating because you've seen what he's done for teams prior, and he looks like a man that does really want to go for goal and does want to make things happen, but he just won't pull the trigger. But I'm just hoping with like some Burnett around him and having that sort of direction around him, he will just gain the confidence to pull the trigger, particularly someone as young as Burnett. You've seen he's doing it, and hopefully it rubs off on Diallo and just thinks, right, I'm going to go for it as well. And of course, Patrick Roberts for me, because I think sometimes in games where we are looking a little bit flat, he can single-handedly drag us forward, and I massively, massively appreciate that, and he has so much quality about him. I have dropped Pritchard. I think something might be going on with Pritchard. There's been a lot of rumours about this, that and the other with Pritchard, or maybe where his head's at the moment. He hasn't been playing particularly well recently, and I believe that on Twitter he's just started randomly blocking loads of Sunderland fans, even those who haven't really given any abuse or anything like that. And I haven't seen too many people give him abuse, if I'm being perfectly honest. But apparently just a huge bulk of Sunderland fans got blocked on Twitter by Pritchard for seemingly no reason. So he might not be in the right headspace right now. So this is probably the team I would go with. Could easily just chop and change here and there. But what do you guys think of that 11? And what would you do for Saturday? Now for my score predictions. I won't lie to you, I can't really see us winning this game. Of course, I'd like us to give a good account of ourselves, you know, particularly against a team like Burnley. I think this is more of a performance game for me. Of course, I want points on the board, but against a team like Burnley, it'd be a brilliant test for these young lads. Again, we keep saying it, but without a striker as well. If we got anything from this game, I would be buzzing. I'd be buzzing with a draw, I won't lie to you. But, you know, considering they've only lost 1 game this season, I would absolutely take it. Being, you know, having my sort of realistic head on, yeah, I would happily take a draw. I'd actually be quite pleased with a draw. But I'm not going to go for that. And I do think we're going to lose by 2-0, and it'll be a double from Rodriguez. I think it will be a little bit too strong for us, particularly on you know, going forward. We've got a lot there with Brownhill, Rodriguez. You've got Vitinho who comes up from right back, who's very good and very dangerous and pacey as well. I think we're going to struggle, if I'm completely honest, but I think this would be a good opportunity to sort of bleed some of the youngsters in whilst You know, some other players are tired, like Pritchard and players like that, and Dan Neil, who I think needs a little bit of a break potentially because of his recent performances. But yeah, so that is what I would go with in terms of my starting 11 and my score predictions as well. What do you guys think the score will be this weekend at the Stadium Light? Let me know in the comments down below. But if you've enjoyed, please hit that like button. Keep hitting the like button for me. It really, really does help out the channel. And also subscribe if you are new. If you're someone who watches the channel regularly but you just haven't quite hit the subscribe button yet, please do. We've recently hit 15k. We want to keep on going. But that'll be it, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care and stay jammy.